topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Houston. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show. For the last 16 years, we have brought you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Don't you hate Mondays? For me, it is so hard getting up for a Monday after a nice weekend. But I looked at my schedule and I saw Taxation Solutions, which is my easiest show of all my shows to do. It's our first longest running show. We have another one right behind them. And it is just the easiest show to do on one of the most important topics, taxation relief. Good morning, Barry Fowler.
Hey, good morning, Steve. Well, can't believe you hate Mondays. I mean, Mondays are great days. I mean, it starts your week off. You get to talk about tax relief.
Yes.
You know, we get to talk about the IRS. Who wouldn't want to start their week off dealing with IRS problems? Come on. You know,
hey, it's amazing. You've got a sense of humor this early in the morning. Amazing.
Well, you got to understand, and this is our public service announcement for the month. If you got smoke detectors, go through and check your batteries now, because the smoke detectors start beeping at 3:30 in the morning. When the battery's low. They don't do it in the evening when you're home or during the day when you're not there. But when you're sleeping in the middle of the night, they start beeping because your battery's low. So our public service announcement is it's a good time. Go home tonight, change all the batteries in your smoke detectors so you don't have to be woken up at 3:30 in the morning. That's our public service announcement. Thank you. You're welcome.
We know what you were doing at 3:30 in the morning.
I was changing batteries in smoke detectors and got up and came to the office early to get a head start.
Barry, I got to tell you, we do so many different types of shows. We've been doing them for 16 years. And I have watched, and it wasn't even the beginning. You'd already been in business for a long time when you and I started. But I have watch the growth of your company, and you are in a business that, just go do due diligence on tax relief companies. There's so many negative reports on them, but Barry Fowler has created a company that people trust. The letters that we get, Barry, just people just writing who said they've never written any on a talk show before, but they really respect your opinion, and to have so much trust in a business you're in. It's just hats off to you, Barry Fowler.
Hey, thank you, Steve-O. It's our privilege. It's our privilege to represent clients and go against the IRS and fight for relief. And we feel that is our privilege to help people. And so that's what we go out and do. And we do everything we can to stop the IRS, get you in the right program, get penalties abated, everything we can do to help you make your life better. Hey, now when you started this part, I really thought when you said you were going back and looking and everything, I thought you were going to go and say you went back to the original show we did way back, close to what, 16 years ago, somewhere down there. My wife and I flew down to Florida and we recorded a nice show with you. And I think that was the first time we had done radio, but it was radio with some TV with it and video. So it was really kind of cool. I thought you went back and did that and you were going to tell me, God, I look a lot older than I did 16 years ago. You know? Instead, it was, hey, you know, our reputation and what we do, you know, we still have that A+ rating at the BBB because of the service we do give our clients and what we try to do to help people. And that's the reason that, you know, hey, we're on Ask the Experts is to get information out to people, whether you want to use us, you want to do it yourself, or you want to use somebody else, you got to be armed with information. So I really feel it's a privilege to be here and be asked to come on to Ask the Experts every year to be able to talk about and help people with their tax problems. Again, whether they use us or they use somebody else or they do it themselves, they need to be armed with information. And so it becomes our privilege to be able to help people and give them information. And it's one of the reasons we also have our own talk show called Tax Talk for You. You can go to taxtalk4you.com or actually stay on the radio and listening, because my show follows this one here on Monday.
I know.
So you'll be able to hear that one. And we're going to talk about why you should be in business for yourself, or maybe you shouldn't be in business for yourself. So it's going to be all about starting a business. So it's going to be a pretty cool show.
That's going to be a great show.
Yeah. I hope you join us.
You know, Barry, I got to I don't know if I've told you this before, but one of the things I love about your company, Taxation Solutions, is you don't just sit back on your success. You've had so many successful stories, which you've done for your clients, but you're always looking for new things to do to help people. And it's so obvious they're not all about money. I mean, you've got your playbook, which I think is incredible. The things that you do for truck drivers. I mean, you're always looking for new ways to help people.
Well, you know, part of what we have to do is always look for every rule, every way that we can make what is happening for our clients fit within their financial wherewithal, and then within the rules of the IRS, and then how can we tweak things to make it actually work. Now, the sad part is that being in this business as long as we've had and as much success as we've had, we still see people out there using other companies, not just for tax relief and get themselves in trouble and dig a bigger hole that we've got to get them out of, but also sometimes doing taxes or bookkeeping with people that have no clue what they're doing. You really got to vet who you're going to use. You know, not just check them out with, you know, the BBB. Look at their reputation, talk to them, see what they're going to do. And can they really do that? And if you're talking to somebody about tax relief, whether you're sure or not, give us a call. It's a free consultation. It doesn't hurt you to give us a call, because whether you use us or not, we're going to try to give you as much advice and help you down the road as much as possible. But you make that phone call at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. We're going to kind of talk to you about your problem. We're going to talk about what's going on with the IRS, what we can do, what your steps need to be, just so that you can weigh the same thing that you're hearing from somebody else who's telling you right off the bat, hey, you're going to qualify for an offering compromise. If they tell you that without doing a tax analysis, if they tell you that without going through a financial worksheet with you, hang up the phone. Don't go any further. because all they're doing is taking your money. That's it. They don't care about anything else other than that. And then I almost guarantee you somewhere down the road, they're going to ask for more and more money because they're not going to get done what they promised or said they were going to do. And it really wasn't a promise. It was like a maybe, but you don't hear those things because you just heard what you wanted to hear of, hey, we're going to get you an offer in compromise. We're going to settle for less than what you owe. Man, that all sounds wonderful, but it's not true in 100% of the cases. You got to really look at a person's family's financial position. And just because you think you don't have enough money to pay the IRS doesn't mean the IRS isn't going to say you do. They're going to find ways to get as much money. It's kind of like they find ways to get blood from a turnip. Never seen it done, but the IRS manages to try to do that every which way but loose. And you got to fit everything if you're doing an offer in compromise within national standards. So it makes it a lot more difficult than just saying, hey, do you have enough money to pay them? And that's just the way it is.
You know, I've shared this story before. I turned on a friend of mine to Barry, and he called me back and he said, I was shocked. I said, well, no, because I know Barry was going to help you. He said, no, actually, it's she. She said, no, he told me that I don't even need his service. And it was, you know, one of the things that when someone hires somebody to handle the IRS for them, you've got to be able to trust them. And you hear so many stories about companies that, you know, they take your money, they say they can take your situation, but there's many a times that they can't help you. And here was Barry telling my friend that we can't help you, but this is what you can do. And I got to tell you, it happened probably about 8 years ago, Barry, and I still never forget that because it just shows who Taxation Solutions are.
Well, it wasn't that we couldn't help her. It was that, hey, you know, we can be honest. This situation was something, here's what you can do, and here's how you can fix it yourself. Don't pay us to do this. It became that simple. Now that I think you've sent me several others that we've also we've
but it's
helped.
Amazing though, Barry, because if you look at, you know, these Google reports, I got to tell you, that's why people have to be careful. And that's why we have a show like this, is so many of them sent their money into these companies. And then it was like pulling teeth for them to get them to even return a phone call.
You know, and that's just the way it is. And I find the Google and some of the other reviews kind of funny because we were going to sign up with the company to advertise and everything else. And they're like, well, you don't have enough Google reviews, but we can go ahead and do them all for you. I said, what do you mean?
You're kidding.
They can go in and put in fake reviews and say they were actual clients so that you had an enormous amount of reviews. I went, wait a minute. I don't ask any of my clients ever to go to Google to do a review. I may say, hey, you know, if you're satisfied, you can go to the BBB and put in something. But most of my clients, I tell them point blank, you really don't want your name out there. You're embarrassed. We understand it. This is the way the situation is. So I don't want to put you in that situation. So, you know, if you want to do it, that's great. Otherwise, hey, you know, we don't want you to do that because some of this information is private. I mean, it's, you know, we're coming up on Thanksgiving here in the next, you know, week or so. And it's not going to be something you're going to sit down at the Thanksgiving table and go, hey, guess what? I owe $100,000 to the IRS. Aren't you proud of me? No, that isn't going to be the topic of conversation in any way, shape, or form over Thanksgiving. It's, when you owe that kind of money, whether you owe 50,000, 10,000, 20,000 to the IRS, it shouldn't be anybody else's business. Get a solution. We treat every person that calls here, whether they sign up with us or not, individually and privately. We don't talk about what your situation is specifically with anybody else besides people that work here. We're not going to come out here and go, Betty Joe owes, $100,000 on the radio, and this is where she lives. No, it's none of anybody's business. We can talk in generalities. We can talk in different things. We've got clients that come to us that have everything from payroll tax problems for their business to many years of corporations, S corps not filing taxes, to individuals who, owe 10, 20, 30, 50 million dollars, whatever that number is, looking for, their help and to get a solution to either keep their business in play, to be able to get their life straight, get their wife to come back and love them because they're finally manning up and dealing with an IRS problem. And we've heard that many, many times. Thank you for bringing our family back together and letting us live our life and not be full of stress. And that's kind of what we do here. Is we're kind of the stress relief too for your family when you do have an IRS problem.
Well, I'm going to tell you something else you are too. And we've talked about this before. I get a lot of letters here from wives that are trying to convince their husbands who have a tax problem to call you. And it seems like most of them, Barry, are, oh, he's too embarrassed. That's like the biggest thing. He's too embarrassed. And one of the things you told me many years ago, and it really makes sense after reading all these letters, is you kind of have like a no judgment zone. You don't judge people. And you've seen so many people with problems that their problems are no different than many other of your clients, and they shouldn't be embarrassed.
No, you shouldn't. Problems happen. Life happens. I mean, it's just the way, it goes. And when you call here at Taxation Solutions, you don't have to worry. We're not going to sit here and judge you because you have tax debt. You're calling us because you do. We don't really care the reason why you got yourself into that tax problem.
Right.
We just want to fix it. Now, we're going to ask you why, because maybe it's not your fault. Maybe the IRS is just totally wrong and you just don't know how to address it or figure it out. Don't be embarrassed. That's why that's why we're enrolled agents. That's why we know exactly how to deal with the IRS and get the right solution, or get the IRS to back off, or get the IRS to fix your tax file, make it right. And maybe you just don't owe anything. Or maybe somebody really screwed up that you hired and made the problem 10 times worse, and we can go in and fix that. So, there's a lot of different things, but the one big thing is we don't pass judgment on you in any way, shape, or form. We just want to make your life better. We just want to help you out of this situation. We talk about lowering your stress levels. Well, if you have somebody else dealing with the problem, you have less stress. If you can go back and tell your wife you actually manned up, picked up the phone and called Taxation Solutions Tax Relief, got some help, they're going to get a solution in place, or they have now put a hold on the IRS so that we have time to get the solution in place. Man, your wife may give you the biggest kiss you've ever had because you actually did what you said you were going to do months and months ago when you first started ignoring those IRS letters. When you get that IRS letter and throw it in the trash can, it doesn't do anything but create more trash. Didn't put a solution in place, didn't stop the IRS, and you're going to get another one. They're just going to keep sending those letters. So it's time to find the right place to go to get the right solution. It starts with that free consultation here to Taxation Solutions at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477, taxationsolutions.net.
Barry, I got to tell you, there's something I found out that, we send out all these email blasts for each show that's coming up. And we have gotten, I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of these truck drivers, first of all, I can't believe all the truck drivers that listen to podcasts, but they listen on Spotify, which is one of our platforms we're on. And I didn't realize that a lot of truckers listen to Spotify podcasts. And I bring this up because you do a lot of work with truck drivers. In fact, you've got programs for truck drivers.
Oh, yeah. We started probably about 8 years ago with our program that is just for truckers called Trucker Tax Tools, truckertaxtools.com. It came out of us for many, many years dealing with truckers who had IRS and tax problems. If you understand trucking at all, truckers are on the road constantly. When they are home, the last thing they ever want to do is bookkeeping or taxes. That's the last thing that's on their mind. What should be on their mind when they get home is their family, spending the time that they have with their family. So we developed a wonderful program, very low cost, that helps truckers with their bookkeeping, with their taxes, gives them unlimited consultations here, talking to us at the office about their bookkeeping, their taxes. Right now, we're in the middle of doing tax planning for all of our truckers. So it keeps us busy here the final 2 months of the year doing a lot of tax planning. But it's all geared to keep truckers out of trouble with the IRS, to make sure that they know what their estimated taxes should be, looking for ways to reduce their tax burden, as every business owner should be doing. If they haven't done it throughout the year, they should be definitely doing it now. A little bit of tax planning and finding ways to lower that tax burden. Nobody likes paying taxes. I haven't met anybody that personally likes paying taxes. There's not a single politician or actor out there that doesn't love taxing you. But there's not an individual anywhere that loves to pay taxes. I mean, that's why, the politicians themselves have people that do tax planning for them. The actors have tax people doing tax planning for them. Why shouldn't you, as an individual or as a business owner, have somebody doing tax planning for them? And that's why we developed everything around truckers, to help them, because they're the ones that needed the most help as a owner operator, business owner. They need to know what they need to do to save money, to pay the least amount in taxes, and keep them out of trouble with the IRS.
We just got a text from Ken in Sugar Land. He said, "I'm really enjoying your show. What are the potential consequences of owing the IRS back taxes?"
Well, it really depends on how much you owe. The first thing they're going to do is send you some nasty grams or love letters, saying, "Hey, we love your money. Send it in. And if you don't send it in, we're going to place a lien on you and all your assets. We're going to potentially levy your bank accounts." And hey, the most embarrassing part would be a wage garnishment. They can do that as well. If you are a business owner, or maybe you're running a small business and consulting, if they know who's sending you 1099s, they can go after that income as well and levy against those people that are be paying you contract. And that means they're going to take 100% of it. It's not even limited when it comes to that. So, the IRS has a lot of collection options, and they can come at you from many different angles. Now, if you've committed fraud, well, then they can come after you legally, criminally. And then if you continue to ignore letters of the IRS for collections, they can even go after family and friends and neighbors for information. Now, if you were embarrassed to talk about your tax problem to begin with, well, now your friends and family know because the IRS went to them to ask information about your financial well-being. Maybe they're thinking you're hiding assets. There's all kinds of things the IRS does. You just got to remember that they are the most powerful collection agency in the world. They have a lot of ability. And even if you think they can't find something, they find it. If it's got your name, social security number on it, it's going to be found somewhere, somehow by the IRS, especially if you owe them money.
Here's a song in Bel Air. If you owe the IRS money, does it hurt you credit-wise with your bank?
Well, that's a good question. So what's going to happen is they are going to put a lien on you if you owe the IRS money, which then gets reflected on your credit report, which then will get reflected when the bank looks at information. If you're just doing checking with the bank's probably not doing any kind of credit checks with you unless you are doing a line of credit or something else with the bank that requires them to pull a credit check. Now, some banks pull soft credit checks when you first open accounts, and yes, that would impact you there as well. So, if you do owe the IRS money, it's a good time to call us at 877-996-6477. Let's find a solution. I mean, that solution could be something as a payment plan and trying to get it to the lowest amount you possibly can get. It may be non-collectible status. And maybe if you owe enough money and there's a good enough reason to go after an offer in compromise, it could be an offer in compromise or even a partial pay installment agreement. There isn't one right solution for everybody. Each solution has to be tailored to you and your situation, how much money you owe, what the statute of limitations are. All that comes into play when we develop strategies to put the right solution in place for you.
This is from Kyle in Memorial. He wants to know, 25 years ago, I received a letter from the IRS stating I owed them over $150,000. I never did anything about it, never heard from them again. Should I recontact them since it's been this long?
Kyle, at this point, I probably wouldn't contact them. That debt probably went away with statute of limitations. Being that long ago, I don't see that the IRS would still have that as debt on their books. Now, if there was never a tax return filed or maybe they did a substitute for a return, you might have, the debt lingering out there if they hadn't actually had the statutes running. But if you've been filing returns every year, they have your current address. If that was still debt that was lingering from 25 years ago, then just let it go for right now. If they send you a letter, then call us and we'll deal with it. If you're really worried about it, then call us and let us do a tax analysis, and we can pull all the information and see if there's anything out there. But again, if you called us, I'd probably tell you point blank, I don't know that it would be worth spending the money on. But if it makes you sleep better at night, then maybe it's worth doing a tax analysis.
Gary, you know what happens? People listen to your show and start thinking back, gosh, this was a while back. Maybe I better take care of it now. But, this show is so important that, we don't see your face. We don't know your last name, and you don't have to be embarrassed. Barry, there's something else that you do. I was talking before about you're always looking for new things to help people out. And, you've got your IRS playbook. I just want to bring that out because, you took time to develop it.
Yeah, we have, a website that we put together that's just informational. It really is there to help people. We know this day and age, many people have that do-it-yourself mentality that, hey, if I Google it, I can figure out how to do it. And, there's instructions to do plumbing. There's instructions to do electrical. There's instructions to process meat birds. There's instructions for everything that you ever wanted to find out there on Google. Now, does that mean I should do it? No, not necessarily. So we did develop this IRS playbook for those people that are either do-it-yourselfers, for those people that are looking to say, hey, I'm going to get some help, but what's the right help to get? So if you go to www.irsplaybook.info, it's basically my IRS playbook that I've used for 30 plus years in doing this to get the IRS off your back for good in as little as 3 simple steps. Now, it simplifies it. We do a lot more when you hire us to put the right solution in place. But if you're a do-it-yourselfer, here's where you start. And, make a decision. Hey, maybe this is the right place. Maybe I don't really want to do this myself. Sometimes you open up your mouth and you start talking and you've just made the situation worse with the IRS as well. So you kind of got to weigh the pros and cons behind it. But the playbook itself gets you that start to make that decision, and then make the decision, am I going to be really good at doing it myself, or do I need professional help to get me through this problem? And so if you, again, go to www.irsplaybook.info, and you can see the 3 simple steps we use to put solutions in place and solve your IRS problem once and for all for good.
Barry, I got to tell you, there's always one email each show that just blows me away. I think this is one. This is from Kurt in Montrose. He said that, I am shocked. I have been in trouble with the IRS, and I just saw your little promotion about your show today, and it was almost like God talking to me. I've been listening to you for the last 10 minutes, and I've never written before, but I wanted to write now. First of all, I hope you'll give out your phone number, which we always do. But my friends keep telling me I should not worry and just do an offer and compromise. I think I trust you more than I trust my friends. What is an offer and compromise?
Well, first off, here's our phone number, 877-996-6477. Again, it's 877-996-6477. Give us a call. It's a free consultation. Now, what is an offer and compromise? It's what you hear on the radio from advertisers and stuff saying, hey, we're going to get you a solution. We're going to settle this thing. Oh, God, we hate this pennies for the dollar on the dollar. But offer and compromise is basically compromising how much money you owe to the IRS. So if, let's say you owe $100,000. If your financial situation is such that, hey, you could settle for $100, well, that's what the offer would be. if we go through and run the numbers and the financial situation says, hey, you can settle for 50,000 or 10,000, that's what the number can be to settle for. That means you've got a period of time once the offer is accepted to pay it in as little as 5 months or 24 months, depending on what we choose when we're filing the offer and compromise. But you've got to be able to qualify. And not everybody qualifies. Now, I'm going to tell you that you can call different places. They'll talk to you and they'll tell you, you probably qualify. Just because you said you don't have enough money to pay the IRS. They didn't say anything definite. They didn't say 100% guaranteed. They didn't say anything. They just said probably, possibly, maybe. Because all they're trying to do is sell you that product. Well, it doesn't make it right. So we've got to go through and do a financial analysis. You've got to look at how much you're paying for housing, utilities, food, clothing, auto insurance, healthcare insurance, healthcare payments you might be making. All this comes into play, but there's also limits and national standards. So just because you bought a house, let's say in Montrose, for $500,000, and your payment is $2,500 or $4,000 a month, something like that, the national standard may only be $1,500. Well, that's all you're going to be allowed. So the difference between that payment that you're actually paying and what the IRS allows for housing and utilities is a big number. Well, then now the IRS says you can afford to pay. Even if you can't, you can afford to pay. So we've got to come up with other solutions and go different routes to get you a solution that maybe you pay still less than you owe in a partial pay installment agreement, but it's a solution that works as well. Now, the other bad part about an offer and compromise that nobody talks about, except me, is that once you file and you send in the form for the offer and compromise, you've got to be 100% in compliance with the IRS. That means if you have estimated tax payments, you've got to have those paid up and current for the year. And you got to keep them current. Then once the IRS accepts your offer and compromise, you have got to do everything correct. File a tax return on time every year. Make sure all your taxes are paid by April 15th. Make sure you're making your estimated tax payments every quarter correctly. Because if you miss that anytime in the next 5 years, the IRS will rescind that offer and compromise, and 100% of the debt plus interest and any other penalties that had not accrued come flooding back. And you think I'm kidding about it? Had a client come to us just the other year, came to us in June. He missed the April 15th filing deadline. He forgot to file an extension. He owed $500. He filed his tax return in May, so a month late. The IRS the next month sent him a letter saying your offer and compromise has been now rescinded and all this money is owed. Now, okay, fine. Maybe we can go back and do a new offer and compromise, correct? Yes, we could. But now his life situation completely changed. He was making over $100,000 a year. So the $250,000 that was forgiven about 4 years ago came back with penalties and interest that hadn't accrued. So he was over $325,000. And according to the IRS, he can now fully afford to pay. Not to mention he put a good $150,000 away into his savings accounts. So he had plenty of wherewithal to pay the IRS back. So you got to make sure you stay 100% in compliance with the IRS if you get an accepted offer as well.
This is from Christy in Rosenberg. I'm really enjoying your show. I'm a little nervous. My husband owes back taxes. Can the IRS come after me as well? We do not have a joint account.
Well, first question is, did you file married filing joint or married filing separate, or was this pre-marriage debt? So those are the questions we would be asking, at that point. If it is pre-marriage debt, the IRS cannot come after you and your assets, but anything that you own jointly with your husband, because it is community property as well, or anything maybe you have bought after you were married, could become fair game, because they'd be looking at it that, this is community property. What's yours is his, what's his is yours. The debt is still his. It's just concerned about the property. Now, that separate checking account, as long as it's just your money going in there, you would be fine. If he's putting money in or his checks going into that account, then you could possibly have a problem there. But the best thing to do is have your husband call us, let us get started putting a solution in place so we don't ever have that problem. That number is 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. Just give us a call. Let us walk you through it. We can talk about what we can do to solve the tax problem. Get a solution before it gets too far down the road and you have other problems. But as long as it's his debt and it's not married filing joint, it should remain separate completely from you. You may have a little bit of a problem if it's married filing separate, because Texas is community property. And sometimes that becomes a little bit of a concern, especially when you start dealing with some overzealous revenue officers. So we just got to keep that in mind in dealing with this tax problem. Now, that being said, if we're going to go after an offering compromise, your information has to be included as well, because they do split up the income and expenses based on how much money you're making versus how much money he is making, so that when it comes to the offering compromise, you both contribute to the family household, and therefore we've got to look at your income and divide up what the expenses are based on the income. So there's a lot of little things we've got to do. Don't think because it's not your debt, you don't have to give information. We do always have to pull the wife's or husband's information, depending on who had the debt, and putting the right solution in place. So we do end up getting that information as well.
This is from Louis in Galveston Island. He wants to know, I wrote you last month, but I think I missed your answer. I'm listening today. I have owed the IRS for the past 4 years. I have not gotten a letter from them. Should I contact your office now or wait till I get a letter?
Well, contact us right now. 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. First thing we're going to do for you is run a tax analysis. Let's find out what's really going on behind the scene. We're going to look at your tax returns. We're going to see what we can do to help you fix your situation so you don't continue to owe every year to the IRS. Somebody that's preparing your returns isn't doing their job in helping you reduce your tax burden and make sure that you are doing what you need to do so that you're not owing year in and year out, and then get the right solution in place for you to solve it once and for all. Because, man, you've lived 4 years with this stress and you're probably looking over your shoulders. If you've got a current address with them, they should be sending you letters, because they do send letters at least annually. But when they are doing heavy collections, you're going to see, the letter saying, hey, you owe, please pay. So there must be something wrong in the address that the IRS has. So, need to get that corrected as well. But hey, don't stick your head in the sand. I know it's really easy, down there in Galveston Island, to ignore the problem. We used to make jokes about, people sticking their head in the sand and ignoring it. But, it's time to step up, get a solution so you can live your life and not worry about, what's the IRS going to do to me? What can they do to me? And, are they going to take, what's in my checking account? Are they going to go after my wages from my employer? All those things are things that are probably in the back of your mind that you're thinking about, and it's time for the solution. So just give us a call at 877-996-6477. It can start simple with the tax analysis and move from there.
Jerome in downtown Houston wants to know, how does the IRS contact you? Do they email you or do they call you on the phone?
IRS sends letters. Until you establish that line of connection, there's not going to be phone calls made. If you listen to the phone calls that do come in, the scam ones, they're not really saying Internal Revenue Service. They're using some other internal rev, something or other. And so the IRS isn't calling you. And if you're getting the letters, call the IRS. Better yet, call us. Let us put a solution to the tax problem so you don't have to really worry about it. The best thing to do when somebody calls you and says, hey, you owe the IRS money, is just hang up the phone. I may play with them and do it because I know how to handle these guys and I know what the IRS is. And then I also have my credentials and I can mess with those guys. But anybody else, man, just hang up the phone. If you owe the money to the IRS, it's best just to call Taxation Solutions or go to taxationsolutions.net. You can fill out our contact page there, and then, we can get in contact with you. Just let us know the best time to call you, and let's talk about your tax problem. We may not be the right fit. You may not be the right fit for us. We're going to tell you how we can help you, or, hey, this is what you can do to help yourself. And it would be the best phone call you can make, and it costs you absolutely zero to make the phone call at 877-996-6477.
Barry, I want to just kind of remind people, between our show and your show, you take out probably about 3 to 4 hours a month to educate people. And I know, I just from myself, we so appreciate you. In fact, you've got a national show we do with you in a few days. But it's really nice seeing all these Houston people write in. I've never even heard of Rosenberg, but I'm sure it's around the Houston area.
I have a niece that lives down there, and sister-in-law and stuff. So I'm well aware of where Rosenberg is, Richmond, Rosenberg area.
But we appreciate you so much taking time out of your day to do this. And you're so upfront with your questions, and like people who just write and say, he makes it sound so much easier and understandable. And people appreciate that about you, Barry.
Well, thank you very much. I love bringing information down. We've always, in my business, since I've been doing taxes, and I've been doing it since I've been knee-high to a grasshopper, is try to put things into everyday perspective and help everyday people understand it. I mean, you can talk and quote tax code all day long. We can go and give section numbers for this, section numbers for that. It may sound impressive, but it becomes more intimidating for people when you start doing those kind of things, rather than just breaking it down to everyday language for people. And here's how we go through and do it. And yes, we make it sound easy, but it's also 40 years of experience of dealing with the IRS and helping people through the problems and doing taxes. And so, it changes the way things go.
People how they can reach you.
Yep, it's taxationsolutions.net. Again, taxationsolutions.net. And the phone number is 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. Hey, if you're interested in why I should start my own business, or maybe why I shouldn't, hey, stay tuned to Tax Talk for You. We're coming up right after this at the top of the hour. So 10 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock here, Houston time, right here on W4CY Radio.
Hey, we'll see you in a couple of days, Barry.
I think it's tomorrow, but hey, we'll see. Hey, have a great week. Thank you. God bless. And hey, Steve, I always appreciate Ask the Expert. So make sure you follow us in the podcast.
You're the best. That's Barry Fowler with Taxation Solutions. Hey, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.